Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Martina Navratilova. Incredible. Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Okay.
How are you doing? Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Oh, it's all right. Thank you. Thanks. Whoa. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think they gave me a couple extra titles, actually. It's 59 Grand Slams, but I'll take it. Better too many than not enough, right? But anyway, I really would like to thank you for that fabulous introduction, and I want to thank you for that standing ovation. I wonder if I'm going to get it after I speak, but anyway. I would like to open up with one of my favorite quotes, which goes like this. The mark of a great sportsman is not how good they are at their best, but how good they are at their worst. So be good at your worst. What exactly does that mean? Probably lots of things, but what I think is what it means most is being resilient. The ability to bounce back from low points and to bounce back from adversity. And using all your resources that you have in order to do that. That's a lot of cameras pointing at me. I can see you. I still remember the first time that somebody was doing that. I was in Japan. They took a picture. I'm like, what are you doing? We're taking a photo with our phone. I'm like, wow. That was about 10 years ago. But I've heard it said that resilience is a tennis player's best friend. As a tennis player, of course, you have to roll with the punches. We call it tennis player's amnesia. You have to forget when you miss a shot. You need to bounce back. Even if you lose, staying in the game on the court is a victory in itself. I think you saw that when Rafael Nadal played the other day. He was obviously injured, but he still stuck with it. And he got a little bit better, not good enough, but he wasn't going to quit. Same can be said for business world, especially in today's economy, because there are many upheavals in career prospects, economic climate, relationship dynamics. I think you guys know all about that as you're merging the two companies now trying to figure it out. You definitely have to be, you're very good at your worst. You have to be good at your worst. It's also been said that adversity is what kind of introduces you to yourself. So I should know myself pretty well. I think I've had as many lows as I've had highs, although I don't think I know myself that well because, for example, when I retired, when Chris Evert retired, she said, you know, I always knew whether you were nervous or whether you were confident before the match, because either when you were nervous, you would stop talking, and then when you were confident, you were very talkative. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that before? She knew that about me. I didn't know that about me. But anyway, we still learn, right? When I decided to become an American citizen back in 1975, I wanted my freedom. I had to make the biggest decision of my life, which was to leave then Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic, because many reasons. I was ashamed of the then communist regime. I could look around and see that the Czech people weren't very happy. There was a growing sadness there. It was pretty much a prison for 50 million people. I began to realize that there was no room in that system for me. There was no way to feel good about myself. And most of all, I wasn't going to be able to make decisions about my life. If I stayed, I belonged to them. My life would never be my own. Every time I went home, I wondered if they'd ever let me out. So I had to make a move. In '75, I came back from Wimbledon, and then it was time to go to the US Open. And the federation said, oh, no, we don't want you to go because you're too Americanized. So I wasn't going to get a visa. I wasn't going to be able to go play the US Open. Finally, at the very end, 1 week before the tournament, they decided that they would let me go. So I left. I knew I couldn't go back again. I didn't know when I would see my family again. I didn't know if I would see my friends again. Needless to say, it was very lonely and isolating. But I had a vision for my life, that if I left the repression of my homeland, I could really become the champion that I knew I could be. So after 6 years of living without a country, I found a home, and I was granted citizenship in 1981. Living without a home, I don't know how many of you know this, but when you don't have, when I left Czechoslovakia, and before I got my citizenship, I had what's called a re-entry permit. I was a resident here, but I didn't have a passport. It's like a regular passport, so it's re-entry permit. So when you fill out the paperwork, citizenship, stateless. 6 years. That's what I was doing. I had to get visa to every single country I was going to. So I didn't belong. It was pretty bad. But it was at that time also when I got my citizenship in '81, I decided to come out. Back then, again, being gay would have been a disqualifier to get your citizenship. So I kept quiet. And once I get my citizenship, 2 days later, a reporter calls me, oh, are you going to talk about it now? I'm like, well, I really can't because of sponsorships, et cetera. But he said, well, I'm not going to talk about it if you don't want me to. But no, I can't because we may lose our sponsorship because Billie Jean King had her issues and the sponsors were very iffy about too many lesbians on the tour, whatever. And so I was going to keep quiet, but next day in the paper it says, Martina can't come out because she's afraid that they would lose the sponsorships. So I was kind of outed, but I've been wanting to come out for a long time, but I couldn't for many reasons. This is 1981, so I was criticized in all kinds of places, all kinds of people, even my own family. It was hard on my father, really hard. I think his male pride was hurt by having his daughter turn out not quite the way he wanted, not quite the way he could accept. But then he read some books, and he finally did. But at the time, it was a true family soap opera. I remember slamming a door so hard, the glass broke. But we never stopped talking. We always loved each other, and my family finally had come around. But when I played Chris Evert those days, or other players, and we were introduced, everybody would clap when Chris came out on the court, of course. What's not to clap for? She's a great person and a great player. But a lot of people sat on their hands when I came on the court. Some even jeered, booed, whistled. I don't think I got that kind of reception because they didn't like my tennis. I don't think I got that, even though I had some really bad haircuts over the years. I know you've had some too, right? But they're forgotten. Mine live on. It's terrible. But needless to say, coming out did not help my tennis popularity. Nor was it considered at the time a wise business decision. I think the phrase that I heard the most was suicide, career suicide. I'm told I lost millions of dollars. To this day, it still gets in the way. But back then, it really was a death knell. So I lost a lot of money, but in my heart, I know I gained a lot more than that, a lot more than a much bigger value than money, which was the opportunity to live my life with integrity. The knowledge that others might have come out because of my example. I even got letters where people said, you know, I was ready to commit suicide until I saw a book about you or saw something about you, and I felt connected, and they didn't feel so lonely anymore. So I had the chance to make the world a better place, so which is kind of cool. So as time passed, the world has changed, albeit very slowly. As you know, there's stuff going on in Russia. There's horrible law passed in Uganda. Homosexuality is still considered a criminal behavior in many countries. But we are getting there. Coming out anywhere is tough enough, but to do it as a public figure was, I think, even more so. And to do it as a professional athlete is almost impossible, which I think explains why today so few have. I know there are gay male tennis players, but I don't know who they are. That's how far in the closet they are. But anyway, that's what I say. It doesn't matter. You know, the ball doesn't know where you're from, what you do. You know, you either hit the ball or you don't. But the more who do come out, the more the various sports bodies will have to back their athletes, and then in turn, more men and women will feel safer competing and participating. Because I think our gay sports stars are really crucial role models for our kids and for young people and for society in general, because we need to become as visible as possible. We have to make ourselves palpable, touchable, real, personal. Then we have the opportunity to show the world who we are all about. Happy, hopefully, intelligent, hopefully, but most of all, giving people. We can show our whole strength, our dignity and character. We can show our joy, our sorrow, our heartaches, and our pain. That work brings people together. I think one of the lowest times of my life was when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It's kind of good cancer, which is, talk about an oxymoron. It's kind of like gun culture. That's an oxymoron. Breast cancer, I mean, good cancer is also an oxymoron. But I finally had my mammogram in 2010. After 4 years, I thought maybe it was a year or two, but it had been 4 years. Doctors told me to come back for a closer look, so I took a closer look. This is right after the Australian Open, 4 years ago, actually. Went back for another mammogram, sent me to Denver for biopsy, and the next day my doctor, and they said, oh, it still looks good, it looks good. And the doctor who called me is a very good friend of mine, said, well, are you sitting down? My heart jumped in my throat. She said, well, it came back positive. And for a second, I thought, positive, that's good. You know, I'm positive. Oh, shit, it's positive. So I sat down and, of course, started crying. The news literally knocked the wind out of me. Of course, there's the why me. But more than that, it was why now. I certainly wasn't ready for it. It's like great comedian George Burns. I don't know how many of you are European here? A lot. How many Americans? Few. Okay, George Burns was a comedian who lived to be 100. And he said, I can't die now, I'm booked. So I'm half this age, and here I am. But it just goes all to show that the cancer can show up at any time, and it's never the right time. I was hoping it would be nothing, but I was so healthy, I ate well. I exercised, of course. I mean, I'm the poster child for health and fitness, and my bum's a little bigger, but still, I'm in decent shape, right? I felt young. I refused to grow up, but it just goes to show that cancer doesn't pick according to that. Otherwise, I think I'd live to be 200, never mind 100. So cancer, now that can't be happening, but it was. Cancer diagnosis is a terrifying experience for anyone. I was scared, really scared. Then I was in denial for about 2 seconds. And as I said, I cried for about a minute. But immediately, I got into the solution. Okay, what do I have to do? Do I need to change my schedule? Do I need to eat differently? What does it mean? What do I do? How do I get in the solution? So good news was the cancer was isolated. I had not spread through the surrounding tissue. But bad news was it was grade 3, the aggressive type. So doctors decided the best treatment was lumpectomy, followed by radiation. It was rough, but I'm happy to say that I'm cancer-free. That was 4 years ago, thank you. But I feel kind of guilty, even going through the radiation in Paris, which incidentally, the treatment, 6 weeks of radiation in Paris cost 7,000 euros, about $10,000. The same treatment in America would have been about $30,000. And we wonder why our healthcare costs are skyrocketing. But during that radiation, I was still playing tennis. I was actually commentating during the French Open for a tennis channel. So physically, it was pretty difficult, but emotionally, it was even more so because, when I've had knee surgeries before or other injuries, when you rehab, you're going to be good. You just do your exercises, you'll be good. You can't rehab your boobs. What do, right? You can't rehab cancer. You just hope that it goes well. So as you might imagine, I've done a lot of thinking about these experiences. So for as long as we are on this planet, good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen. Life is full of uncertainty, and it's impossible to know what's going to happen next year and next 24 hours. So for that matter, next hour. So that's the part of ebb and flow in life. But what is important not is what happens to us, but how we react to it. How do we get our resources? How do we use them to be good at our worst? I'll tell you where I got my resources and how I use them. And I hope that these strategies will help you as well. I believe there are 5 ways to be good at your worst. First is the company that you keep. And I don't mean the big company. I mean the people that you surround yourself with. It is really important to surround yourself with positive people. Whether it's you want to lose weight, or you want to get in shape, or you need to study for some test, you need to surround yourself with people that say, yes, you can, and I can help you with that, rather than, oh, no, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. Throughout my athletic career, I believed in having a support system for whatever I did. I've always had a few of my friends and advisors sit together and cheer for me during a match, or a coach, a trainer, of course, help me play to my potential, or a friend might say, come on, snap out of it, or just quit bitching, whatever, get on with it. After I was diagnosed with cancer, I found it was really difficult to ask for help. I felt vulnerable. People offered, I said, no, I'll be fine. Because sometimes when you're sick, all you want to be is to be alone. You don't want to see other people, talk to other people, or have anything to do with anybody else, at least for about an hour. And then boredom sets in because you realize you're all alone. Soon you're calling everybody that you know, because no one is home because they're working. Everybody else is healthy, you're sick. So it's like staying at home on a school day. Sure, it's fun for a while, but then there's nobody to play with. So my doctor wisely instructed me that if you're going to go through some serious treatments, if you just have 5 friends helping you, your chances of recovery are much greater. I didn't know that. But I put together my support team. I had 7 people in that waiting room when I had my surgery, just in case. 5 wasn't enough. But that's what I've done in my life. It has been that. You need to put people together that really help you. If you've got anyone in your life that never stops complaining, then you need to stay away from them. You know it, when you get off the phone with somebody, you feel better, or you get off the phone with somebody, I'm like, thank God I don't have to talk to them anymore. So you find those people that you want to have more with, because that negativity is contagious, and if you listen to it, it can cost you. The same way, positivity is contagious as well. It's just as hard to learn a bad habit as it is to learn a good habit. Choice is ours. So, positive people, healthy people. Second, what I've learned is to stop viewing and labeling experiences as whether it's a flat tire or a failed sale or a missed tennis shot. I don't label them good or bad. I treat every one of those as challenges, opportunity to learn something, to improve, to grow. Because let's say you're a tennis player and you go into a tournament. If everybody in that tournament is a beginner, you can beat them easily. It's not fun. You're not going to get any better. It's only when you have other players that are better, that are maybe even better than you, that the matches become interesting and you play your best. You can't hit a great shot unless somebody forces you to hit a great shot. Tennis is very connected that way. Sometimes it's a good thing there's a net in between, though, so you don't get beat up. But you really need to treat life as a game where you are constantly being challenged, because then very little will faze you. Look at it as a challenge, not a failure. Instead of viewing challenges as negative, I really consider them as a chance to grow, a chance to become stronger, more resilient you, even if you fail and you fall on your butt. I don't know if you saw Samuel Beckett is a poet, and Stan Wawrinka has a tattoo on his arm. And it says something like, if you fail, get up, and you keep trying, and if you fail, fail better. The bottom line is fail better. You always learn. You get something out of failure. Of course, he failed. He won. He didn't fail, did he? Third, I try to keep my priorities straight. Most champions are very single-minded. They have to be. They let nothing interfere with their priority, whether it's becoming a champion, becoming whatever that goal is. I always said, you know, if your goal is to be number 1 in the world and you get to number 10, as long as you do your best every day, if that number 10 ranking is the best that you can do, that's okay. Because the other 9 guys are just better, as long as you do your best. If those 9 guys weren't alive, you'd be number 1, right? But then you wouldn't be a better tennis player. Just the other 9 guys wouldn't be around. So for me, it was always about getting the best out of myself every day, competing against myself. Champion is not sidetracked by distractions or other things that do not help them reach their goals. I can sit in a room full of people, but I can completely shut it out, because that's what I had to do on the tennis court. Sometimes I'm sure you have to do that at your desk when there's all this stuff going on. Stay online. So align your priorities with your goals, whatever that may be. Sit down and take some time to think about where you are now, where you would like to be within a certain time frame, whether it's 6 months or a year or 5 years. What will it feel like living that dream? How will you feel about yourself when your fantasy comes true, when it becomes reality? I began having goals about winning Wimbledon when I was, about 7, 8 years old. My father helped put that dream in my head, because he believed that I could be a great player. He would hit the ball for hours telling me I would be a great champion. So that dream was just as vivid in my dad's head as it was in mine. He'd tell people I'd win Wimbledon someday. They laughed at the club. Now there's a plaque in the club with all the years that I won it. They don't laugh anymore. Of course, I wasn't about to disagree with him. His dream for me kept mine alive, and he put in all the hours with me. I know that all of you have some dream, a dream. And maybe that's to win more of the market share. You are about to change your game by joining forces with another great team. And that's great. And again, opportunity to grow and learn. And don't be afraid to totally redo your thinking. There's an old saying, you can teach an old dog new tricks. There were a couple of times where I changed my game completely. One was change of a racket. I was in the middle of a winning streak in 1982. I had won 30 matches in a row. Going to the French Open, I'm playing with my coach, Renee Richards, and she says, try my racket. I was playing still with a wooden racket. And she had this metal Arthur Ashe racket. She said, try this. And I started hitting with it. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a toy. You know, everything's so much easier. It's like having a phone that's twice as fast as the one before. It's like, you're not going to go back to the old one. So I changed rackets. I went with this metal racket. I won the French Open. They're like, why did you change? You're on a winning streak. I'm like, it's a better racket. And I told Chris after I think I beat her at Wimbledon as well. And I told her that summer, I'm like, Chris, you got to change rackets. You're not going to beat me with that wooden racket. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And she did. I think she went through the US Open, and then she went to a medal Wilson as well. The other thing that I changed one year, and this is after I had won 8 Wimbledon titles, and I started working with Billie Jean King. I was a little burned out, and we went really to the beginning of how to hit the ball, et cetera, et cetera. And still something wasn't happening. And we've studied films of other players, how they moved. And the old way of playing tennis, I think some of you are old enough to know when you learn, you do like this, you know, the old cross step. This is how you hit the shot, cross step. Now everything's open stance, completely different. So what do you have to do? You start with the outside foot. So, but I'm now 30, this is 88, so I'm 32 years old, 33 years old. And since 5 years old, I've been doing this. Okay, so 30 years I've been doing that. And now I have to do completely the other way. So Billie Jean actually dropped the ball from here. So I would get their outside foot, hit her forehand, and did this a bunch of times. Then she went a little further, and then I did the first step and hit like this. And then service line to service line. I still look like a beginner. And it took about a year, maybe 6, 7 months before it was ingrained into my body, where it was automatic like this. Now, if I had to do like this, I would have to relearn the other way. And I did not win the Wimbledon the first time around, but when I lost to Steffi Graf in the final, she said, okay, 365 days to go for the next one. And worked on that footwork, worked on everything else, wrote in my diary every day. And I got that 9th title. Didn't have to play Steffi, but I got that record 9th title in 1990. So as I said, you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can always get better. You have to be prepared to take risks. And challenges if you really want to achieve your dreams and goals. And believe me, I have taken many of those risks. Hopefully you don't have to leave your country to do that. Once you've established your ultimate goal, you need to divide it into smaller bite-sized pieces. For example, for me, it was Wimbledon. I wanted to win Wimbledon every year. That was the goal. So what do I have to do? So this is the schedule, and this is what I need to do this month and next month, and this is what I need to do this week, and this is what I need to do today. And you break it down, so okay, I know exactly what I have to do today, and hopefully you get a little bit better. And the next day, you make that same kind of adjustment so that the goal is not overwhelming, but you can manage it. I also like to really measure my goals. I don't know, you guys, this day and age, you can pretty much measure anything, right? You guys have algorithms for everything. I like to know exactly what I have done or what I need to keep doing, and know that I got better even at this stage. But doing this kind of goal setting will give you quick wins, and I think it will keep you motivated on a daily basis because you'll be able to see the progress that you're making towards your long-term goals. For tennis players, it's a little more obvious because you move up in the rankings. Fourth, I like to live my values, values like sportsmanship, fairness, human rights, equality that keeps me standing every day, even when I'm getting pummeled sometimes. If you sincerely believe in what you're doing, that your actions are necessary to accomplish your overall goals and that your goals are worthwhile, you will have the confidence to persevere even when faced with naysayers. When I made my comeback, I was 43 years old. I had to deal with a lot of naysayers. I was just going to play doubles. I didn't want to play singles. But people would say I was tampering my legacy, whatever that is, that my glory days were behind me. I knew that, but I still wanted to play tennis. Or they would suggest that my longevity in the sport was due to a lack of depth in women's tennis. Which, of course, they're not saying that about the guys, and I guess it's another double standard, but whatever. Every single time I do a press conference, they'd ask a question, well, aren't you too old to play? Do you think you should still be playing? Often I heard people say, oh, she'll lose because she's too old. So people have been putting limitations on me for a long time. First, everybody said I was too young. Then they talked about I was too old. For only a very short time was I just right in everybody's eyes, including the press. Even my mom, when she came to the States, she said, oh, you're too thin. So she starts feeding me all this Czech food. Next thing I know, she said, oh, you're a little heavy. I'm like, when was I right? That was a very small window there. But here's how I see it. You cannot let other people set your limitations. You can't go on what anybody else says or does. Because if I did, I would have never left Czechoslovakia. I would have stayed on the baseline, which is what the Federation wanted me to do, but I wanted to come to the net. They said, no, she'll never win that way. If I had waited for those people, or listened to those people and did what they said, I would have never broken the records, and you probably would have never heard of me, and I certainly wouldn't be standing here today talking to you guys. People who succeed, they take chances. They don't listen to negative comments along the way. So you have to ignore the naysayers, not let them sabotage you, and go after what it is that's in your heart. Another thing is, if you are doing what's in your heart, you will never fail because you will have a good time doing it, no matter how far you get with those goals. The fifth and final point for me is turning my focus outward. I think it's the opposite of what you hear today. All the advice is go inward, find yourself, I'm right here. That's okay, but I think that we're so busy looking inward that we can't really recognize when others are in need. I know that's going on in this country quite a bit. I think that you really can believe, I believe that you can find yourself by looking outside yourself. I've learned that in my own life, which is why I feel really so fulfilled. I had many causes that I'm passionate about. They give me reason to get up in the morning and make this world a better place. They keep me from being too wrapped up in myself and getting a bigger head. So while I retired from being a tennis champion, I did not, and I will never retire from being a champion of women's rights, human rights, animal rights, gay rights, basically all rights. Anytime I see a bully, I go after them. I bully them right back. So retirement for me would mean settling for the status quo, which is not enough for me. I don't think it's enough for you guys either. Obviously, it isn't, because otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here tonight. So my advice to you guys is get passionately involved in a cause that is bigger than you, that brings a greater good to a greater community. Share a smile or a kind word with the strangers. Donate some money. Volunteer for the less fortunate. Trust me, I think you'll be rewarded in ways that you never expected, physically, emotionally, and most of all, spiritually. So I've just laid out those 5 strategies that I think can help you to be good at your worst. Keep positive, supportive company. Treat the bad stuff as challenges or opportunities to grow and learn and improve. Get your priorities straight and align them with your goals. Live your values, whatever they are, and turn that focus outside. Ultimately, it's really critical to keep things in perspective. Know that you're not alone in your challenges and that the journey is just as important as the destination. It's times like these that bring huge opportunities to cast an even brighter light, I think, on the important work that we all do. And I'm sure that the next 12 months will be very productive for you guys as you merge your teams with Microsoft and strive forward to achieving your goals. It's not easy. It's not easy adapting to new situations. People are afraid of change. But again, I look at it as an opportunity because you don't want to be stuck. Being stuck is the worst. Tough situations bring the greatness in all of us and help us be good at our worst. So good luck being great when you're bad. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice jacket. Thank you very much.